The hidden power of words, the bridge between who you are and who you can become. A wise prophet once said, "Words are the lamp at your feet, showing you where you stand. They are the light along your path, guiding you toward your future." Let this truth settle in your soul. Words shape destinies. They build bridges over chasms of confusion. They mark the path through the dark tunnels of doubt. A single phrase spoken with intention can reroute a life headed in the wrong direction. It can lift someone from despair and set them on the path to greatness. You don't just give directions with words, you hand people their map. You don't just offer advice, you gift them the compass to navigate life's storms. So here's a message you must not forget today. A sentence that could change how you live, how you lead, and how you are remembered. Do not be lazy with language. Too many waste the precious gift of speech. They speak carelessly, they write without intention, and in doing so, they abandon one of the most powerful forces ever given to humanity. Language is not just communication, it is creation. The right word can open a door someone thought forever locked. A sentence, thoughtfully constructed, can become the key that unlocks someone's potential. It can offer hope to a heart drowning in doubt. It can reconnect someone to their forgotten dreams. You must understand this. Within you is a mental vocabulary, a spiritual dictionary. It is your internal map, the framework by which you interpret the world and your place in it. And the clearer your language, the sharper your understanding. The more refined your words, the more aligned your decisions. If you want to make fewer mistakes this year than you did last year, start with your words. Start by praying, not for money, not for status, but for something far more valuable. Pray for the gift of language. Words influence everything: your children, your business, your clients, your spouse. Your ability to master this one gift will shape the trajectory of every meaningful relationship you have. And to neglect this art, to walk away from it, would be an error of the highest order. Let me give you a challenge. Among all the books on your shelf, make room for one of the most powerful tools you can own: a dictionary. When you meet a new word, don't skip it. Pay it, learn it, use it. Vocabulary is the foundation of understanding, and understanding is the foundation of success. So practice, daily, everywhere, all the time, even in the smallest moments. Say you're giving a gift with a card. Don't scribble down something forgettable. Write something that will be cherished for years. Write something so rich in truth, so original in feeling, that they'll tuck that card away and revisit it when the world feels cold. Don't be ordinary, be unforgettable. Train your gift. Your ability to say the right thing, the right way at the right time is an art form. It's a tool of transformation. Say it in a way that lights up the mind, that shakes the heart, that stirs the soul. Words, real words, can do what flowers cannot. A bouquet may say, "I miss you," but only your words can say, "No one on this earth has touched me the way you have." That's your role. That's what lives inside the card. And that message, that vibration of truth, will remain long after the petals have wilted and faded. Words spoken at the right time in the right way are stronger than time itself. So do not let flowers do all the talking. Choose words that are alive, that are unique, that pulse with emotion, and practice every chance you get, whether it's a casual family dinner, a quick Sunday message, or a staff training. Look for a new metaphor. Find a more vivid image. Tell a deeper story. Every time you do, you don't just speak, you connect, you ignite, you inspire. I remember when my wife Judy and I parted ways. It was a moment unlike any other. I didn't write her a long letter, just a small note, but it carried the weight of my soul. Judy, my love, each night sorrow visits me when the dark descends, but each dawn my love for you still rises, as whole as the very first day. I wish you peace. I wish you the best. I understand and I accept that my life still carries the imprint of your touch, and if one day you call, I'll be there to feel that touch once more. Just a few lines, but they weren't casual, they weren't convenient. They were crafted, they were alive, because sometimes words say what action alone cannot. Yes, we've all heard that actions speak louder than words, and in many ways that's true. But let me offer a deeper truth. Action cannot replace expression. Yes, do what must be done, but also say what must be said. Speak your feelings, speak your gratitude, speak your truth before it's too late. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it with words. Don't assume they know. Tell them. now, because what you say today might be the very thing they'll carry with them forever. So I urge you, train your voice, shape your message, build your vocabulary, craft sentences like a sculptor shapes marble, with care, with purpose, with vision. Speak in a way that connects, speak in a way that uplifts, speak in a way that lasts, because your words are your legacy. Begin a new chapter, the vocabulary of a richer life. Even if you're unsure, even if your words still stumble, begin. Begin a new chapter, a chapter of inspired communication. Speak more clearly, express more deeply, touch more souls, because the very first step to becoming a great communicator isn't public speaking, persuasion, or storytelling. It's vocabulary. Before you can master your message, before you can inspire, connect, or persuade, before your words can ripple like electricity and stir the hearts of others, you need something deceptively simple: words. Yes, vocabulary. It may sound academic. You may think it belongs only to scholars, writers, or professional speakers, but that is far from the truth. Vocabulary belongs to everyone. Anyone who wants to live with clarity, anyone who wants to love completely, anyone who wants to understand and be understood needs words. Let me tell you a story. Some friends of mine conducted a study inside a rehabilitation center for inmates. The original objective wasn't related to language at all, but what they discovered was impossible to ignore. They found a direct, powerful link between vocabulary and behavior. Sounds surprising? Then think deeper. A person who lacks the words to name their emotions cannot process them in a healthy way. A person who cannot express their pain is more likely to suppress it. A person who cannot explain their anger is more prone to act it out. And when someone cannot voice their needs, they often resort to demanding through actions. Words, or the lack of them, shape how we cope with life. In a very real sense, words are the eyes of the mind. Without vocabulary, you lose your vision of the world. You cannot name what's happening inside or around you. You walk blindly through life, unable to understand, unable to choose wisely. And when you can't understand, you judge wrongly. When you judge wrongly, you act wrongly. And when those wrong actions repeat, they become your destiny. You don't need to be a scientist to know this. Just look at yourself. How many arguments have you been in simply because you didn't know how to express what you truly meant? How many times have you stayed silent, not because you had nothing to say, but because you didn't know how to say it? At Harvard, researchers conducted a 50-year-long study to answer a seemingly simple question. Why do some people become extraordinarily successful while others don't? Why do some nations rise while others remain stuck? The answer? Surprisingly simple and yet profoundly powerful. Vocabulary. One of my mentors once asked me, "What is the real purpose of language?" I answered, "To communicate." He smiled and said, "Yes, but go deeper. Each word is a crystallized thought. Each word is an entire universe compressed. The more words you know, the sharper, more strategic, more nuanced your thinking becomes." Think of words like love, freedom, family, or success. Just one word, but each could fill thousands of pages, because every word is a world. And the more words you own, the more you can not only express ideas, but combine them into complex, powerful thoughts. Language doesn't just help you speak, it helps you see. And when you see clearly, you choose wisely. And those who see with clarity are the ones who lead. So it's no surprise that people with the richest vocabulary tend to rise to the highest levels of society. Words shape your perspective. Perspective drives your choices. Choices determine your actions. Right actions are the only path to a meaningful, grounded life. Still think vocabulary is just about communication? Think again. Words are the heartbeat of the soul. They don't just express what's in your mind. They form your inner world. You can't name what you feel if you can't express what you want, if you can't put into words what matters to you. You're not just disconnected from others, you're trapped within yourself. Imagine living 5 years, 10 years, 20 years without expanding your vocabulary. You stop learning how to express. You start reacting instead of understanding. You begin to act out emotions instead of articulating them. And slowly your world begins to shrink. No more deep relationships, only shallow reactions. No more big opportunities, only invisible barriers. From a life that once had infinite horizons, you end up living in a box. Not because someone locked you in, but because you no longer had the words to walk out. That's why I plead with you. Expand your vocabulary. Not to sound smart, not to impress others, but to live a vivid, rich, meaningful life. Years ago, I used to tape small flashcards to the sun visor in my car. Each card had a word I didn't know. Every day, I would learn 3 to 4 new words. I wanted them to enter my eyes, sink into my memory, absorb into my mind. Because I knew, vocabulary is how you see the world. The more words you have, the more perspectives you gain. The more perspectives you have, the more freedom you unlock. And the more freedom you have, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the stronger you become. So if you're building a personal library for your life, give the dictionary a place of honor. Not because you're a writer, but because you are alive. And to live fully, you need the words to light your path. You already have eyes, give them vision. You already have a heart, give it language. Step 2, sensitivity, the heart of meaningful communication. You already have a heart that feels deeply. Give it the words to express. You already have a mind eager to grow. Give it the most powerful weapon there is, words. Because one right word, at the right time, can change a life. And a rich vocabulary, a language full of depth and precision, can shift the course of destiny. If you're still here, and you've felt even a flicker of truth in these lessons, please leave a comment saying, "I like this video," to let us know you're walking this path with us. It's more than just encouragement. It's the energy that helps us keep building content that matters, that heals, and that connects. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's move to step 2, sensitivity. Because real communication begins with empathy. If the first step in the art of communication is vocabulary, your lens to see, then the second step is sensitivity, your ability to feel. To not only see the person across from you with your eyes, but also to see them with your heart. We often hear the phrase, try to understand where they're coming from. But the truth is, people aren't just coming from a place, they're carrying histories, experiences, unspoken pain, silent battles. And they're standing right now somewhere on a fragile path in their journey. Not everyone grew up the same. Some were raised in warmth and security. Others barely made it through storms you couldn't even imagine. Some people smile in public but cry themselves to sleep. Some speak eloquently while carrying broken hearts. You won't see those wounds. They're not written on foreheads. They don't show in social media bios, but they're real. They live in people's eyes, in the way they pause, in the silence between words. And if you want to truly connect, if you want your words to not only be heard but felt, you must first learn to feel. You cannot communicate powerfully if your heart is disconnected. You cannot inspire if you cannot be touched. You cannot reach people if you don't allow your own soul to be moved. Remember this always. Everyone you meet is carrying something heavy. It could be responsibility. It could be silent shame, regret, trauma, or a wound that never healed. I once read something that made my heart stop. If everyone in the world could put all their pain into a pile and we were allowed to walk around and pick the one we'd rather carry, most of us would quietly take back our own and walk away. We think our struggles are unbearable until we truly see what others are silently enduring. And here's the mystery. When you begin to really listen to others' pain, your own life starts to transform. In the Bible, there are 2 phrases that repeat often when describing Jesus. Not that he spoke, not that he preached, but that he touched and he was moved. He didn't just witness suffering, he allowed himself to feel it. He let his heart break for it. And if you want to be more than a speaker, if you want to be a voice that resonates, you must learn that too. You must let yourself be touched. You must let yourself be moved, not just by your own sorrow, but by the quiet tragedies playing out in the lives of the people you want to reach. Imagine this. How can a 40-year-old man genuinely talk to a 12-year-old child? Not through intellect, not through authority, but through memory. He has to go back to that moment when he was 12, when the world felt overwhelming, when the smallest slight could break him. Let that memory breathe, not for analysis, but for connection. Only when you return to who you once were can you reach who someone else is today. I had a mentor once. He didn't finish school, only made it to 8th grade, but he gave me a truth I carry to this day. Don't try to impress. Learn to express. We live in a world obsessed with performance. Words have become tools for self-promotion, to impress, to dazzle. But that's the very thing that creates distance. People don't need someone to impress them. They need someone to express themselves honestly, vulnerably, truly. Impressing builds walls. Expressing builds bridges. So if you want to truly reach someone, begin with sincerity. Meet someone for the first time? Don't tell them how great you are. Ask them something kind. Look into their eyes as if you can see the exhaustion behind them. Start with building a bridge, and the first plank of that bridge is always common ground. Not where you want to go, but where they are. If they're hurting, go to where the hurt is. Don't talk about success to someone who's falling apart. Don't offer strength before you've earned the right to sit quietly with their weakness. Because you know what? Only those who have suffered can speak with true weight. Not because the pain must be identical, but because it must be real. Pain that you've walked through, that you've knelt under, that you've risen from. That's the kind of pain that can reach out and lift someone else. Empathy isn't a skill you learn from books. It comes from the deep places, from daring to feel, from daring to hurt, from having the courage to sit in the dark with someone else until the sun rises. That's why, if you want to lead, first walk the path of the people you hope to guide. Don't reach down from a pedestal. Kneel beside them, not because you have the answer, but because you're willing to be with them in the question. This is the second step in mastering the art of communication. Not just to speak, but to be heard. Not just to teach, but to connect. Not just to deliver a message, but to leave a mark on the soul of another human being. Because when you combine vocabulary with empathy, when you merge precision of thought with depth of feeling, your words no longer just fill time, they fill hearts. They no longer just explain, they heal. The art of reading people. Don't speak until you've truly listened. Don't rush to pull someone into the light. First, meet them where they are, even if that place is a pit of darkness. Sit beside them, match their breath, feel their weight, and then gently, one step at a time, guide them out. You can't help someone heal if you're unwilling to hurt a little with them. You can't truly connect if you're standing on a pedestal yelling, "It's going to be okay." No, you must step in, be present, be willing to understand. Because when you do, something extraordinary happens. The other person begins to feel seen. They feel understood. They feel reached. And when someone feels reached, they don't just hear you, they believe you. Your words cease to be mere information. They become light. They become medicine. They become a new kind of hope. And when someone starts believing in what you say, their life begins to change. You don't need a title. You don't have to be a doctor, an expert, or a motivational speaker. You just need to be a human being who is willing to feel. That alone can create a miracle. True communication is not about speaking, it's about perceiving. This leads us to the third step of transformational communication, learning to read people. Before you speak, before you advise, before you inspire, you must listen deeply, attentively, not just to respond, not just to argue, but to understand. Most people believe that great communicators are those who speak well, those who can charm, persuade, or perform with eloquence. But the truth is, powerful communication is not about saying more, it's about sensing more. It's about reading others, and that begins with listening. Not with your ears, but with your presence. Listening is an art the modern world has forgotten. We think we're listening, but often we're just waiting for our turn to speak. Or we're distracted, mentally rehearsing our next line while someone's soul is unfolding in front of us. True listening means being completely present. When was the last time you really listened to someone? Not interrupting, not fixing, not judging, just fully present. Listening means putting down the book, turning off the phone, straightening your posture, and leaning in. Not just with your body, but with your heart. You don't need to say a word to show someone you're listening. Your eyes, your breath, your silence, they can all say, "I am here with you." We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we speak. Yet in practice, we often reverse that. We fill silence with noise. We use words to prove ourselves. We forget that silence, held with empathy, can be far more powerful than advice. In every relationship, family, love, friendship, work, Deep listening is the bridge that leads to true connection. If you want to break the ice, shorten the distance, inspire someone to open up, don't just talk. Ask and listen. Ask about the little things. How was your day? What made you smile today? Has anything been weighing on your heart lately? Ask not out of politeness, but out of care. Don't ask and then turn away. Ask and stay. Listen, not because it's polite, but because you truly want to understand. People may forget your exact words, but they will never forget how it felt to be heard by you. Because the more people get to talk about themselves, the more they feel connected to you. Connection builds trust. Trust opens hearts. And once someone's heart is open, you're no longer just a listener. You become a refuge, a mirror reflecting their humanity. Treat every person you meet like the most important client of your life just for a day. Watch how their words become more meaningful, how their stories reveal hidden depth, how you become more patient, more generous, and most importantly, how you become a better version of yourself. Here's a simple yet profound practice. Pause before responding. Just a breath. One small moment to show the other person, I'm actually considering what you just said. That pause increases the weight of their words and elevates their sense of self-worth. Then ask to understand, what do you mean by that? Can you tell me more? That's interesting. Could you explain it further? Don't guess. Ask. Don't assume. Explore. Because when you ask with genuine curiosity, you shift from reacting to empathizing. And once you truly understand, you'll stop judging. With no judgment, the other person feels safe to open their heart. They begin to trust not just you, but themselves. And when you reflect back what you heard in your own words, something powerful happens. Try saying, just to make sure I'm hearing you right, you're feeling overwhelmed by this situation, and it's really starting to weigh on you. Is that correct? Even a sentence like that can make someone feel, I'm understood. I'm not alone. I don't have to carry this by myself. But reading people doesn't stop with the ears. You must also use your eyes and your heart, because not everyone will say what they feel. Not everyone has the words. Sometimes emotions live in silence. That's why you must see, not just look. Look at their eyes to sense their fear. Notice their posture to detect their guard. Read their face to glimpse the fatigue they're hiding. Often people are screaming without making a sound, and only those who see with their heart will hear it. Empathy isn't just a soft skill, it's the core of all meaningful communication. And empathy doesn't come from textbooks, it comes from daring to feel, to hurt, to sit in someone else's pain without needing to fix it. So if you want to lead, first walk the road someone else is walking. If you want to guide, don't pull them from where they are. Meet them there. Sit in the mud, match their breath, share their ache. Not forever, just long enough for them to realize, I'm not alone. And from that moment of presence, healing begins. You don't need all the answers. You just need to care enough to listen, observe, and feel. Let your heart be the translator. Let your presence be the comfort. Let your silence be the shelter. And then, when it's time to speak, your words will no longer be mere sound. They'll be light. They'll be medicine. They'll be truth. That's the power of reading people. That's the beginning of true connection. Step 4. Listen beyond politeness and speak with emotion. Never mistake politeness for agreement. Someone may smile and nod, though their heart is saying the opposite. Someone may remain silent while their mind is screaming. You must learn to read what isn't being said. This is advanced communication, where people don't just hear your words, they feel that you see them. Yes, women may be naturally more attuned to this, but don't believe that men can't learn. This is not an innate gift. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. Learn to read emotional currents. Know when to be firm and when to soften, when to push the issue and when to back off and let it sink in. This is the art of those who lead with both head and heart. Why does this matter? Because in communication, it's not what you say that counts, but how the other person feels when they hear it. You can speak flawlessly. You can present an argument airtight in logic and style, but if your listener feels pressured, they will push back. If they feel judged, they will shut down. If they feel unheard, they will close the door. On the other hand, when they feel understood, they open up. When they feel safe, they begin to trust. And when they trust, your words hold power. From a crying child to an audience in crisis, from a new hire to a company in upheaval. If you've mastered emotional attunement, you can inspire, you can persuade, you can heal, you can connect, you can lead. So never speak before you've listened. Never advise before you've understood. Never speak until you've felt. Words only penetrate the soul when built on presence, empathy, and deep awareness. That, my friend, is not just communication. It's the soulful connection of one person to another. Step 5. Words, emotion, transformational power. There is a simple formula, concise enough to fit on a sticky note, yet potent enough to shift worlds. Words infused with emotion become the power to transform. It sounds obvious. Until you live it, you won't understand how a well-timed word spoken from the heart can save a life. One right word, right time, with real emotion, that's enough to pull someone back from despair. That's enough to turn a life around. You might speak with precision, you might be eloquent, you might win every debate, but without emotion, your words are nothing more than an echo. They go in, then fade away. Nobody remembers. Nobody is moved. Nobody changes. Emotion is the soul of words. When speech carries soul, it's no longer heard, it's felt. You know that moment when someone says something very simple, but you pause for a beat because your heart is moved, not because it was clever, but because they spoke from their heart to yours. That is the gulf between bland words and words that shake the soul. History teaches the stark truth. You don't have to agree with them. You may call them monsters, tyrants, criminals, but you cannot deny that figures like Hitler, Stalin, Lenin moved millions with words. It wasn't because they were right. It wasn't because they were logical. It was because their words burst with emotion, conviction, and soul, and the world followed, rightly or wrongly. Here's the lesson. You don't need to shout or dramatize to be impactful, but if you want to inspire, you must have the courage to pour your heart into every sentence. I can talk. You can listen. But if my spirit doesn't reach yours, if my feelings don't animate your feelings, I'm just noise, a passing convenience. To truly persuade, you must become a part of your own words. You must invest belief into every syllable. Blend your heart with each statement, infuse soul into each phrase. To do that, learn a nuanced but vital skill, emotional calibration. You don't need to explode in anger to make a point. You don't need to shout conviction. You only need to know when to pause, when to soften, when to hold silence. This is no mere technique. It is the mark of maturity, the mark of a communicator who leads with strength and grace. Think of music. The loudest notes don't always move you. It's the pause between them that gives the melody its emotional arc. Great communication works the same way. It's not about how much you say, it's about when and how. A master communicator. Time shifts energy, knowing when to inject dynamism, knows when to soften, giving space for hearts to receive, so the listener's breath can catch up. If someone leaves a gap, a moment before speaking, it's this space that allows feelings to land. The final secret of masterful communication. Here's the essence of every legendary orator, heartfelt leader, and soulful friend. Carefully chosen words, properly tuned emotions, communication that transforms. It's simple, it's deep, it's instinctive, it's alive, it's honest. And just like any skill, it needs daily practice. No one's born able to touch the heart. No one wakes up one morning and suddenly has emotional mastery. You train it each day, each conversation. Because if you wait to practice until the moment you need it, it's already too late. The person you most care about will not wait. That career-defining opportunity won't wait. That moment to connect won't wait. Practice daily. Then, when the moment arrives, you'll be ready to be there. Not to scramble, not to rehearse, just to appear. And when you do, your words will be sharper than a sword, brighter than any light, warmer than any embrace. One final reminder. Yes, action can't replace words. One might argue, show, don't just tell. But let this be clear, actions are powerful, words are essential, and when infused with emotion, they become irreplaceable. My parting gift to you, write this truth on a sticky note and place it where you'll see it every day. Words powered by emotion become the fuel that changes lives. Let it breathe in your mind, guide your heart, and lead your mouth. Speak with care. Speak with feeling. Speak so that others not only listen, but feel, change, connect, grow. And one day, your words will be the light someone needs to walk through a dark room. Isn't that worth training for? Your words matter more than you know. Words without action are empty, but actions without words are distant, lacking connection, warmth, and emotion. You may do everything for your child, but if you never say, "I'm proud of you," they might never know. You may deeply cherish your partner, but without saying, "I'm grateful to have you," they may feel invisible. You may trust your teammate completely, but if you don't say, "I believe in you," they might never tap into the strength they truly have. So speak. Train your voice. Talk to your children not just with commands, but with stories, with metaphors, with example. Read another book, not just to gain more words, but to discover new ways to reach the hearts of those you love. Practice speaking. Speak everywhere. Write birthday cards as if they might be the only thing left when you're gone. Speak as if every sentence is a personal gift to someone's heart. Don't be ordinary. Be different. Be extraordinary. Use your gift, the rare gift of being able to express something deep in a way so simple it lights up another person's soul. You can send flowers, but don't let the flowers say everything for you. Flowers can say, "I miss you." But they can't say, "No one in this world has touched me the way you have." Only you can say that, and you must say it. Flowers will fade, but words, when spoken from the heart, can live forever. So don't let flowers speak for you. Let your words speak for your soul. Because in the end, the world doesn't lack noise. It lacks genuine words spoken with truth from the depths of a soul. Communication is not a trick. It's a connection between souls. The journey to master communication doesn't stop at fluency. It doesn't end with clever word choices or polished arguments. At its core, communication is the art of connection, the bridge between two hearts, two minds. And only when you understand that do you begin to master the true gift of speaking. The 4 steps you've walked through are not tricks. They are not hacks. They are pillars, foundations that turn someone who knows how to talk into someone who can truly touch others. 1. Vocabulary, the eyes of the mind. Start with words, because you can't see life clearly without the words to describe it. Vocabulary is the lens through which we perceive thought. It clarifies the abstract, makes the vague concrete, and sharpens our thinking. It lifts your inner world to a more strategic, thoughtful level. Without vocabulary, even your deepest insights become blurry shadows. But with the right words, you gain vision, precision, power. Sensitivity, feeling before you speak. Words cannot touch if you don't first feel. You cannot connect if you don't take time to step into the emotional space of the other. If you don't pause long enough to ask questions no one else asked, if you don't dare to feel the pain or the joy beneath their silence. Sensitivity means you're present not just with your ears, but with your full awareness. Only when you feel can you speak in a way that makes others feel seen. 3. Observation. Listening beyond words. Learn to read people, to really see them. Don't just hear the words, observe the eyes. Don't just notice the tone, tune into the emotion beneath it. When you listen deeply enough, you begin to respond not with rehearsed lines, but with genuine understanding, and that's what opens people's hearts. This is how you shift from simply replying to connecting. 4. Emotion, the invisible force that gives words life. No one sees emotion, but everyone feels it. It's what turns a sentence into healing or into a wound. You don't need to speak loudly, you just need to speak truthfully, with presence, with clarity, with authenticity. Maybe you're wondering, why bother with all this? What's the point of speaking well if the world is still full of pain, silence, and misunderstanding? Because this isn't about skill, it's about presence. It's about being the one who helps someone feel seen, heard, understood, even just once in their life. This world doesn't need more polished speakers. It needs more people who speak from the heart. Use your words as a gift. Train every day, not to stand out, but to show up. To be fully present in every conversation. Use your voice to calm, to open, to build, so that when the moment comes, you won't just talk, you'll move. You won't just listen, you'll understand. You won't just teach, you'll ignite. Because in the end, communication isn't about applause, it's about transformation. Not about being admired, but about helping someone feel closer to you, stronger, more alive. That's the power of words. Let your words leave a mark. Words can be like wind, passing by unnoticed, or they can be like light, piercing the darkness. The difference lies in whether you put your heart into them. Communication is not just about what you say, it's about what you leave behind in the soul of the listener. So train your voice, polish your words, but above all, speak from your soul. And in doing so, let your words become the bridge between your heart and theirs.